talks. If you have never been here before, a couple requests from the students. Please make sure your phones are turned off and put them away. We have Grace Navarro going today, so give 100% of your attention to her as she's presenting. If you've never been to one of these before, the students in my speech class is kind of the biggest, I guess, speech or talk that they do. 8 to 15 minutes, they all fall in that range, and it's on a topic they feel they're passionate about or they have some expertise. Today you're going to hear about body language, which is cool because we've never had one about this topic. At the end, we'll take a couple questions from the audience if you have any. We appreciate you being respectful throughout this entire talk. So without any further ado, I'm excited Grace took this class this year. I feel like she's grown a lot in this particular area. Had her as a sophomore, she gave a speech, and now she's giving the big one on the PAC stage. So please welcome PCHS Junior Grace Navarro.
So this one day I had to give a speech in front of my whole class about animal testing and the pros and cons of it. I was really nervous and pretty underprepared, but I guess I just pushed through it and got it done and ended up getting a pretty good grade on it. I don't really remember it that much because it was a while ago and I kind of zoned out during it because of how nervous I was. So I want you guys to think for just a minute what was wrong with how I opened my talk. And if you thought about how I looked down, I didn't make eye contact at all, and I kind of started off pretty quiet, you would be 100% correct. Now I'm going to talk for a good 8 to 10 minutes about the importance of body language and how it can affect what you're saying. And you'll notice by my body language that I could be coming across as being excited, excited and confident. However, what you don't see is how truly nervous I am to be standing up here in front of all of you right now. So I'm going to be explaining sort of why body language that you use every single day, like eye contact, posture, facial expressions, hand gestures, are so important. So could anybody guess the percentage of communication that body language researcher Albert Mehrabian found is solely body language? I can't tell who that is. Eli.
88%.
Not quite. It's a little lower. I'll take one more guess. Johnny.
75.
Still a little lower, but it was 55. And along with that, 38% is based on your tone, and only 7% is based on the actual words you say. So I thought that was pretty crazy when I saw that. If you don't use the rest of the body language, what you say can be perceived in a totally different way. Even the skill of being able to read and interpret someone else's body language is so important because it can allow you to pick up on unspoken feelings or issues. So I hope you leave here today with a better understanding of why having the ability to use and apply this skill is so important. So I think we all kind of know that being able to use eye contact properly is a pretty hard thing to master. And if you're talking to someone, especially someone you don't know very well, and you don't break eye contact, you'll probably start coming across as being pretty rude. So if you break eye contact frequently and look down or around at the ground, people will probably notice that you could be coming across as nervous or uncomfortable. And if you don't make eye contact at all, you'll probably come across as being shy or timid. Now, I know we've all had that one teacher that just for the heck of it likes to stare at you and make you uncomfortable just because they want to. So I want you to think of who this teacher could have been for you, and chances are you're probably thinking of this guy, because I know that's the first place that my mind goes to. So eye contact is so important in many things you do in life. You'll want to have good eye contact when you go into something like a job interview, so you can come across as being confident and comfortable, even though you might be a nervous wreck. So I recently learned about something called the 50-70 rule. 50% of the time while speaking, you should maintain eye contact, and 70% of the time while listening, you should maintain eye contact. Obviously, I'm not doing the best of this right now, huh, Chance? So, according to Zippia, a job search company, 65% of hiring managers said that they wouldn't consider hiring someone if they fail to make proper eye contact. I want you to think for a moment what you can tell based on how a person feels just by the expression they have displayed on their face. Raised corners of the mouth, that person's probably happy and in a good mood. Dropped jaw, they're probably shocked. Droopy corners of the mouth, they're probably sad or upset. And wide open eyes with an open smiling mouth, that person is probably surprised. So facial expressions make it so easy to read how a person is feeling in the moment without having to ask. They can also help you decide whether or not you want to approach someone. For example, if someone has a mad or rude expression on their face, you're probably not going to want to go up and talk to them. But if someone seems happy and joyful and in a good mood, that'll probably make you more likely to want to go up and have a conversation with them. According to Very Well Mind, a research website, rapid blinking can insist that you're stressed or uncomfortable, and the tightening of your lips could be an indication of distrust or disapproval. So I'm going to sort of delve deeper into a bit of a more serious topic just for a minute. So people with neurological and developmental disorders such as autism, ADHD, and cerebral palsy usually have a really hard time being able to use body language. This is usually because a lot of times people with these disorders try to focus on the small details of bodily movement, especially for people with autism, because they tend to struggle with emotion based solely on facial expressions and eye contact. This really shows how sometimes the people that are the most vulnerable are the ones who struggle most with things like being able to use body language effectively. So the last thing you want to come across as when you're speaking to someone or doing something, again, like a job interview, is come across as careless, unprofessional, disrespectful, or anything related to those words. So if you're slouching or leaned over onto something, you're more than likely going to come across as all of these things. Now for reference, an ergonomic specialist is a person that makes it easier for people to do their jobs by observing human movement as it relates to the work environment. So Judy James, who's an ergonomic specialist, states that although slumping might feel like a state of relaxation and confidence in the workplace, the signals it projects to others can be more like a lack of engagement, energy, or keenness. And her coworker, Louise Shipley, says that good posture can not only help you make a good impression on your employer, but it can also make you more productive in your job. Posture can help convey an important message. For an example, if I were sitting down across from someone and I leaned forward a little, it would tell the other person that you're listening to what they're saying and that you're interested in what they're saying. So the last three things that we've talked about, eye contact, facial expressions, and posture, are all types of body language called nonverbal communication, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the act of conveying information or emotion without the use of words. So let's look at one more type of nonverbal communication, and that's called paralinguistics. So it's basically just a really fancy word for things like the tone of your voice, volume, pitch, and inflection. And a lot of you might not know what inflection is, and that's totally okay. But in short, it's the emotion and/or attitude that you can convey through your tone and volume and things like that. So for example, if I'm in class and a teacher asks a question and I say, I know the answer, that would probably make me come across as positive, confident. But if I were to raise my hand and say, oh, I know the answer, I could probably come across as being cocky, overconfident, and probably it would make people think it's an insinuation that no one else will know the answer in the room. So our words are important, but the way we say those words, along with our body language, are even more important. So obviously, I've given you a few examples of nonverbal body language, but these are just a few out of the tons that are out there. Your different types. Your body language can be so important even when people are trying to do things like decide their opinion on you. And Deborah Bull, who's a member of the UK Parliament, says body language is a very powerful tool. We had body language before we had speech, and 80% of what you understand in a conversation is read through the body, not words. Just think, anything you say based on your body language can be perceived in a totally different way if you don't effectively and efficiently use it. So there's one person in the audience that knows more than anyone how much I suck at it, and all I've been doing for the past few minutes is talking about the importance of it. However, you don't have to really be a master at it to be able to efficiently get your point across. So Austrian-American author Peter Drucker says the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. Thank you for joining me and learning about the world beyond our words.
All right, anybody have a question for Grace? Romney?
When you're preparing to do your lesson, in what ways did you practice your body language?
All right, he asked, when she was preparing for this, how did she practice her body language?
Honestly, there's really no good way to be able to necessarily practice it. It's more of just, it's a natural thing, and you just have to, you learn it over time. So You just have to kind of get used to being able to learn how to use it.
And you do a great job. If you don't know, guys, Grace was unbelievably nervous to do this, and you really couldn't tell. Like seriously, Grace, you couldn't tell. You did a great job. Another question. Yes, Mr. Diaz.
What was your biggest fear while speaking in front of everyone?
Your biggest fear?
I don't really know. I've never been good at talking in front of people. I already talk pretty fast, which, I mean, if you know me, you'll probably already know that. So when I'm nervous, I talk a lot faster than I usually do. I also tend to stutter a lot. So I don't know. I was just really nervous. I don't really like talking in front of people.
Okay, any other questions? Ultimately, why did you decide to do this topic? So they really get to develop any idea they want to for a Red Talk, and she landed on body language. How'd you land on that?
I'm not gonna lie, it was the day it was due, and you told us to pick a topic, and so I looked up topics, and so I picked body language, but I'm happy I did because I learned a lot of stuff about it.
All right, any last questions? All right, so we have, I think, 2 or 3 left, depending on if Nathan goes, which we're all going to encourage him to do. Our next one is May 4th, and that's Bella Terry. Hers is called Toxic Femininity, which is pretty interesting because you hear about toxic masculinity all the time. So hers is a little bit different spin on it. So we'll be back then. We appreciate you guys coming to these and supporting these students and your classmates. Let's hear it one more time for Grace Navarro.